Introduction by Gitta. As a point of departure for the events which follow, I would first like to give a brief introductory sketch. It's important to note the ordinariness, the simple life led by my three friends and me up until the dialogues began. But it was a time of increasing political tension, and ever more questions arose about the meaning of our lives and our futures. Nevertheless, this life we had was a preparation for what was to come. I was 16 years old in 1923 when I first met Hanna. We were both students at the School of Applied Arts in Budapest, where we worked at neighboring tables. From the first moment, Hanna was open and very friendly towards me, but I was the product of a military family, proud of its motto, "Above all, be strong." Thus, I was surprised and puzzled by Hanna's affectionate nature. In my upbringing, any display of feelings had been considered a sign of weakness, and even a simple kiss of departure was cause for embarrassment. Hanna, whose father was an elementary school principal, grew up in a more natural atmosphere of a modern Jewish family, and she was accustomed to showing her feelings spontaneously. Despite these differences in temperament and upbringing, we became close friends in the course of the next 3 years. After our final exams, however, our ways parted and we seldom had contact. Hanna continued her studies in Munich, while I threw myself totally and blindly into sports. Swimming championships, national records, and the adulation which Hungary showered upon its sports heroes fed my pride and kept me indulging in a superficial lifestyle for the next 4 years. It was during this period that I made the acquaintance of Lele, who was giving courses in movement therapy. Her warm and natural manner attracted great numbers of pupils, and I soon realized that the reason for her overcrowded classes was that her students were experiencing something going far beyond physical relaxation. Their inner essence was being nourished. I heard little from Hanna during my sports idle days. She had married József, a quiet man who was a furniture designer by profession. His very presence had a soothing influence on his surroundings. I often observed this later when we lived together in Budapest. In the village inn, where the townspeople had the habit of engaging in heated political quarrels, the atmosphere would inevitably calm and all would become peaceful within moments of József's arrival. This was a typical effect of his silent way of being. When I finally had had enough of sports, I decided to seek out Hanna once more. She and József had settled into a work studio in the Ilona Ukta on the hills of Buda, overlooking the Danube to a gorgeous view. With great patience and understanding, Hanna helped me find my way back to artistic activity, something I had completely neglected since completing my studies. Without her accompaniment, I would never have been able to regain my joy in creative work. As it turned out, the three of us eventually founded what soon became a very successful graphic arts studio. In the years 1934 and 1935, anti-Semitism was already widespread in Hungary. Thus, as the only non-Jew in the group, it was my role to obtain government commissions primarily for touristic events and advertising, whereby my sports reputation and status as the daughter of a high-ranking military officer were beneficial assets. The soul of our professional group was undeniably Hanna. She possessed tremendous powers of concentration and intuition, which enabled her to immediately grasp the essence of an artistic conception, as well as its practical realization. She had the knack of being able to solve problems with a wonderful blend of common sense, clear psychological insight, and above all, humor. By this time, Hanna had some graphic pupils of her own, and many years later, one of these young artists, Vera, told me. The intensity of Hanna's teaching touched not only our professional development, but our entire being. It demanded so much of us that some students simply could not bear it and chose to leave. Hanna never critiqued a design without our feeling personally touched, even if it involved only the most trivial advertising graphics. She considered every line of a drawing to be the manifestation of an inner event. During the actual lessons, our contact with her was quite different. She would intuitively tune in to another wavelength and read our drawings like a doctor reads an X-ray, but with affection, firmness, and cheerfulness. Before beginning to speak, she sometimes had no idea what she was going to say, and was then astonished at her own words. As a young student, I was very attached to her, and she became a model for me. But Hanna completely rejected this dependency on my part. She would say to us after 2 or 3 years of my teaching, "You must find your own inner teacher." For her, the most important thing was to awaken the new being in us, the creative individual, freed from fear. Our studio prospered, and yet, ever more, we had the feeling that we were living on the edge of a cliff. Collective blindness was on the rise, along with a flood of organized political lies. If something were promised by the Nazis, for instance, one could be sure that just the opposite would occur. A strong desire was welling in us to find the truth, our truth, beneath so much deception. This led Josef and Hanna to seek and ultimately find a small house not far from Budapest in the little village of Budaliget for the purpose of starting a new and simple way of life. I soon joined them there, and we worked just enough to support our daily needs. Lille joined us on the weekends. The quiet village life was beneficial to our inner development. However, this period began for me with a growing feeling of emptiness. An inexplicable expectation of a coming something deeply disturbed me, and I often went for day-long walks in the forest in search of peace. Again and again, even at mealtimes, I would catch myself looking toward the garden gate in expectation of this something or someone that should come and change my life. In the evenings, we would often discuss our experiences and try to discover the source of our problems. Hanna's intuitive gifts were a great help, but still we all felt ourselves to be at a dead end. We were interested in the great religious currents of humanity, and our bookshelves held the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, philosophical and literary texts, works of Eastern authors from the past, Lao Tzu, and present, as well as writings of Meister Eckhart were essential in our library. Yet none of us was practicing our religion of origin. We felt ourselves to be standing before a world of lies, brutality, and all-pervading evil. At the same time, we were convinced that the meaning of our lives must be buried somewhere, and that the cause of our not finding it must be in ourselves. With this in mind, we decided at one point that each of us should write down as clearly as possible our individual problems, so as to better be able to discuss them together. One day, over black coffee, I read aloud what I had written to Hanna, who dryly remarked that this was nothing but the familiar old stories warmed over yet again. It was all too true, and I was painfully aware of my blatant superficiality. I was asking Hanna questions that I could just as easily have answered myself, but it was less strenuous to have the answer simply served to me. At this point, the dialogues begin. They were to take place nearly every Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock for the following 17 months. Part 1. The Dialogues in Budapest. Go your own way. Any other way is straying. Friday, June 25th, 1943. Number 1. Dialogue with Gitta. In the face of my superficial attitude, Hanna feels a tension arise which grows into indignation, and then, fully awake and with eyes open wide, she suddenly has the following vision. A strange force seizes my pages of notes, rips them to shreds, and dashes them to the floor in complete disapproval of this inferior effort so short of my capabilities. Hanna is about to say something, but suddenly stops, as she senses that it is no longer she herself who is about to speak. She just has time to warn me. It is not I who will speak to you. And then I hear the following words. Enough of your shallow questions. It's time for you to assume responsibility for yourself. It is Hanna's voice that I hear, but I am absolutely certain that she is not herself speaking. Her voice is serving as a kind of instrument. I have the feeling that I know whoever is addressing these stern words to me, and so I am not totally overwhelmed. I rather feel that something quite natural which had to occur is finally taking place. I am filled with a bright light, but there is nothing joyous about it. On the contrary, it illuminates my darkest interior with merciless clarity, and I am compelled to see myself without deception. I am shown what I might well have written about myself had I truly been self-searching and honest, and I feel deeply shaken and guilty. In the wake of my sincere shame, Hanna senses the indignation ebbing in the one who is speaking through her. 'Tis better now. Repentance is also forgiving. It is time for you to transform yourself. Be independent. You have too much and too little. I do not understand. Too much inert matter, too little independence. I feel that this refers to my lazy, independent way of thinking. The seed is not sown on hard ground. You will be tilled by endless searching. What has been good will become bad, and what has been bad will become good. A long silence ensues. It is finally broken by the following question. Do you know me? These words touch me to the core. I feel with an inexplicable certainty that I do know the questioner, that it is my inner teacher and guide, but I have no memory image to accompany this feeling. I perceive only thick layers of mist which obscure and prevent recognition. I am unable to break through it despite my best efforts. Do you know me? This repetition penetrates me all the more. I am at the threshold of remembering and try with all my strength to illuminate the dark layers, but it is for naught. I cannot. Hanna feels that the one who speaks through her watches me with empathy during my struggle. You are pagan, but that is good. I sense that by pagan my roots are meant. You will be baptized with the water of life. You will receive a new name. The name exists, but I cannot yet reveal it. Prepare yourself for it. You may ask a question. I am incapable of asking even a single question. I am too filled with the growing awareness of what is happening to me. The one who speaks is tired. Give her strength. We will meet again. Immediately after this remarkable encounter, Hanna and I write down what we have heard. This is not difficult, for every word has engraved itself permanently into our memories. Hanna describes her experience of the event as follows. During the entire dialogue, my perceptions were heightened. I could see the room, you, and all that was going on inside of you with great clarity. At the same time, I was fully aware of our visitor, whose feelings were of an entirely different quality than ours. But I can describe them only in inadequate terms, such as indignation, love, or tenderness. It was difficult to find words to express what was to be communicated through me. In one and the same moment, I was experiencing both intense anticipation and great joy. A single question burns in me, and the promise of return, when, if ever, will it be fulfilled? Hanna answers, perhaps in 7 days. In the evening, we tell Lele and József about our extraordinary experience. József, who had been a materialist in his youth, reacts skeptically and adopts a cautious attitude. Lele, however, very much wants to be present the following week and offers to take notes of any subsequent dialogues. Friday, July 2nd, 1943. Number 2. Dialogue with Gitta. It is a difficult week. The uncertainty of my inner visitor's return makes me uneasy. In addition, the starkly accurate image of me which had been revealed is difficult to bear. At about 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, we are sitting in wakeful expectation, and I am painfully aware of having made no progress during the week. Suddenly the silence is broken by these words. What have you achieved? Have you learned? I think back on the past week, and at this moment I would like nothing better than to sink beneath the floor. Nonetheless, I feel I have changed in some small way, and I say timidly, yes. For the time being, or forever. Now I feel so worthless that I burst into tears. No self-pity. Are you afraid of me? No. I too serve. These words console me, and I am filled with a joyous feeling of trust. My teacher serves, and this is something we have in common. Ask. As a birthday present, Hanna had recently painted a portrait of me in which I sit on a mountaintop holding a crystal sphere whose facets shine in a rainbow of rich colors. The symbol of this sphere of light has great meaning for me, and I long to hear my teacher say something about it. How might it be possible for me not only to understand but also to live the symbol of the sphere? I have the sphere of light with me. I descend to you. You ascend to me. How? Believe it, and you shall grow with this belief. In the word belief, I feel a living force in no way connected with the intellectual affirmation of a religious creed. When the time is ripe, it will happen. Can you bear the sphere of light? I answer superficially without really understanding the question. Yes. Are you worthy? Are you pure enough? I hesitate. You know it. Hanna feels that the one who speaks through her is observing me as though I were a foolish child ignorant of what she is saying. Though the sphere of light is heavier than the earth, the child plays with it, for it is formed of one and the same substance, light. The word child is used in an entirely new way which I am unable to grasp. I listen as if through fog and bluntly ask, "Can one play with it?" The child plays. The adult creates. The fog thickens. I am completely confused. Then am I too small for the sphere? The piercing reply strikes me like lightning. Too big. Hanna sees that my little eye is too big and dominating, but I do not understand and ask stupidly, "Where am I too big?" Hanna feels indignation rise in my teacher at this lack of comprehension on my part. Although a powerful purifying gesture would have been called for, she fails to rally sufficient strength in herself to carry it out, and is only able to transmit the following words. What is big collapses. What is hard disintegrates. The gesture of burning force which Hanna had been unable to make would have set off this collapsing and disintegration inside of me, Hanna later tells me. After a long silence, I hear the consoling words, "You are never alone." Friday, July 9th, 1943. Number 3. Dialogue with Gitta. This week has been less difficult than the previous one, but on Friday the obscuring inner layers of fog return. It begins to dawn on me that I have been living carelessly in this fog for 36 years without ever being aware of it. But now I do at last see it, and it is a real problem. As we chat together after coffee, Hanna suddenly hears a single word sternly spoken. Enough. It is 3 o'clock, and I had not been ready to receive my inner teacher. Have you prepared yourself for the feast? I feel so worthless that I begin to cry. Do not cry in my presence. There is no time for that. Hanna feels my visitor's indignance. Clearly it would have been more suitable to be joyful. Ask, how might I hear your voice always? And be a puppet. I do not understand. Then you would not be independent. It is your task to approach me. May I ask a question? That is why I am here. Should I fast on Friday? I thought that fasting might be a means of spiritual purification. No, let the proper measure of each day be your fasting. Pointing to Hanna. Give her something to drink. Very surprised, I get Hanna a glass of water. Why is it so difficult to really love my family? The family is flesh. Hanna sees that my family strengthens just what is already too strong in me, matter. When you have rid yourself of the superfluous, then you will be able to love. Is that far off? The far is near. The near is far. May I know your name? This question comes from a desire to be able to call my teacher at any time and thus feel secure. The name is still matter. Seek what is behind it. The dark layers of fog torment me. My question is actually a desperate cry for help. I am in the dark. What should I do? Go your own way. Any other way is straying. After a long silence, sing for me in the forest. I cannot believe my ears. Me sing? Having hidden my feelings behind a thick coat of armor since childhood? This strikes me as absolutely absurd. I think I misheard. Each word is now uttered with emphasis. Sing for me in the forest. Without being aware of it, I lean forward and I am immediately held back by a gentle but firm gesture. You are too near. I ask myself if my density is unbearable or is the radiance of my teacher too strong for me. I had a dream, but its meaning is not clear to me. You are a part of the way. I am a part of the way. Is the way. The word is pronounced with utter reverence. Hanna is now too tired to go on, thus the remainder of what she was to convey is related to me afterwards as a message. To will is not a step forward. It is a hindering wall. I feel this is a reference to my overzealous, willful striving. See the technical note on page 4 for an explanation of Friday, July 9th, 1943. Number 3. Dialogue with Lily. Lily would also like to ask some questions. She takes the place opposite Hanna, who is resting, as I move over and prepare to take notes. After a brief silence, we feel a presence of warmth and gentleness. I am here. You called me. I called you. The intonation of the voice has changed completely. Now it is tender. You may ask. When will I open myself to what is above? You are deceiving yourself. Deception is fear. But you have no cause to fear. What is my first task? Do you know your sign? Here it is. Gesture outlining a triangle pointing downwards. Could you explain my task in another way? You are named the one who helps. The helper should not fear. I bring good news. You are dear to me. Do you want to see me again? Yes. Then you will not see me. Do you wish to see me? Yes. Then you will not see me. In light of the previous dialogue, I now realize that neither will nor wish can bring our teachers closer to us. Lily, rather confused, bursts out. I only want to see you better.
When the task requires it, you will see me. I obey.
I would also like to be able to obey. Touching Lily's forehead.
There's too much up here. In the body, you are the last born.
Lily was the youngest child of a large family.
In spirit, you are the first of the newborn. I now take leave of you.
I am absolutely delighted that Lily has found her inner guide, whose tender, radiant presence allows even me to completely relax. In the days that follow, I am totally occupied with not wanting and not wishing.